Fire and the whole issue of protecting us from fire is something that's very close to my heart. Very close to my heart as well, because my husband's a retired firefighter. And my stepson is currently a firefighter. He's operational on the Blue Watch in London. And just this morning came off his night duty. So I know firefighters personally, and not just from a trade union and industrial point of view. And I know that when it comes to reducing the ridership on fire engines down to 4, when it comes to an incident and firefighters arrive, carrying out risk assessments on the hoof to determine whether it's safe to enter premises is all well and good, except for when they discover, of course, that there are people in the building and that those people need their help and they need to be rescued. And I am absolutely convinced that the more we cut the ridership on fire engines, the greater the risk we put firefighters at, and the more likely it's going to be, as a previous speaker already said, more likely it's going to be that firefighters will die. And I think that's an appalling circumstance to be in the 21st century, not just in Humberside, but across the United Kingdom. And I think most people feel the same actually about the fire service. We know from the research that Humberside Fire Authority itself has carried out that most people will actually be happy to pay more in their council tax to fund greater protection provided by the fire authority. We know that, and I think that's really to the credit of people across Humberside, that actually when it comes to it, I may never dial 999 and ask for the fire service, but what I do want to know is if I dial 999 and call them out, they're going to be fully crewed, they're going to be fully trained, they're going to be properly equipped, and they're going to turn up and do the job that we know they're able to do. So it's a shame, really. You've got the public research there, but nobody's taking the action. Anyway, we've got a government, as you know, that wasn't elected. I do try and remind people of this at every possible opportunity. They have no popular mandate. But Brandon Lewis, who is the fire minister, he's not very popular, is he? Up to all sorts. We got documentary evidence that he at one point talked about privatising the fire service. He's denying that at every possible chance now. Then, of course, he moved on to the idea of mutualisation of the fire service, using Cleveland as a brigade that would fly the flag for that. No promise to lock down assets to ensure it is retained in public ownership. And that one seems to have died a death. They backed off from that once it became clear that in Cleveland it simply wasn't going to happen. And then, of course, his most recent comment, I tried to find it this morning on Google and I couldn't, but I do remember him saying it. But actually, we don't need a whole-time fire service in the UK. We could actually run a fire service through the retained service. It would be much cheaper. We don't need to have professional full-time staff employed to do this work. The numbers of calls are going down, so why do we need to do this? And I just sat there and I thought, what kind of a person, can sit and make the argument quite calmly and publicly that something as valuable as the fire authority could be pared down to the extent that we only have emergency cover provided on a retained basis on the cheap. And I thought, well, that just about sums the Tories up, really. And it sums it up not just at a national level, but within Humberside Fire Authority as well. All I want to say is that basically, I speak on behalf of most people, I think, in the community. I'm a Labour councillor, I was a Labour member of the Fire Authority, and last year I was one of the people who vehemently proposed that we should increase the precept in order to additionally fund the authority, because government funding is being pulled left, right and centre, as we know. That was defeated. The two Lib Dems on the Fire Authority voted with the Tories to defeat that, and they did it again this year. So the proposal to increase the precept so that people were paying, literally slightly more, pennies more, in order to provide a safe fire authority was something that was voted down again. And I think most decent people know that actually what we want is this whole, it's a bit like the NHS. I never want to go in the hospital, but I want to know it's there and it's properly working when I do. And it's exactly the same with the fire authority. I don't care, frankly, how much it costs me. I just want to know that when I dial that number in extremis, you people will turn out and I know I can rely on you. And I think until we get a government and an authority that recognises and respects that, we're going to be in big trouble in the fire brigade. So all credit to people for fighting these cuts. Riding 4 is awful. Losing a fire engine at East Hull is awful. And generally, increasing the attendance times is awful. Sooner or later, people in my community will die because of this.